Washington thinks it understands Donald Trump. That's always when he moves. Not loudly. Not impulsively. But deliberately. Every time the Capitol relaxes. Every time the experts say asterisk, we've seen this before, asterisk. Trump does something that resets the board. This is not about what Trump says next. It's about what he's preparing not to say. And that's why his next move could shock Washington. In Washington, familiarity feels like control. They've analyzed Trump's speeches, mapped his patterns, prepared responses. To them, Trump is no longer a mystery. He's a known problem. But Washington has always misunderstood one thing. Trump isn't dangerous when he's loud. He's dangerous when he's quiet. Something changed recently. The chaos softened. The headlines slowed. The rhythm felt different. Not gone. Different. To Washington, this felt like relief. To Trump watchers, it felt like a warning. Because Trump never reduces volume without increasing leverage. Trump built his rise on disruption. So when disruption pauses, institutions assume exhaustion. That assumption has always been wrong. Trump doesn't burn out. He repositions. And repositioning is invisible. Until it isn't. For years, Trump reacted to pressure. Investigations. Media cycles. Political attacks. Now, pressure reacts to him. He chooses timing. He controls pace. He lets others move first. That shift matters. Because initiative beats resistance. Washington runs on statements, press conferences, leaks, responses. Trump has learned something critical. Silence creates uncertainty. And uncertainty forces mistakes. When Trump doesn't respond, the system fills the gap. Often incorrectly. That's how openings form. Trump rarely explains his direction anymore. He hints. He suggests. He leaves sentences open. That ambiguity does two things. Supporters project strength. Opponents project fear. Both reactions work in his favor. Washington hates ambiguity. Trump feeds it. Washington is waiting for a rally, a declaration, a legal development, a campaign escalation. They're watching the wrong thing. Trump's next move isn't performative. It's structural. It doesn't grab headlines immediately. It changes the terrain. Earlier Trump moves centered on him. This one doesn't. It centers on alignment. Who stands where? Who hesitates? Who defects? Who stays silent? Trump isn't testing popularity. He's testing loyalty. That's far more disruptive. Ironically, Washington is weakest when it believes it has adapted. They've hardened defenses against Trump's voice. They haven't adapted to his absence. They're trained for confrontation, not vacuum. And vacuums pull systems apart. Supporters feel anticipation. Opponents feel dread. Insiders feel uncertainty. That emotional imbalance matters. Because politics is not driven by plans. It's driven by expectations. Trump is reshaping expectations again. Before, Trump disrupted from the outside. Now, Trump influences from the margins. Marginal power is harder to see. And harder to stop. Washington learned how to fight Trump. They built responses to outrage. Prepared talking points for chaos. Created defenses against spectacle. But those defenses were designed for a Trump who needed attention. This version doesn't. And that changes everything. Restraint is not weakness. In politics, restraint signals confidence. Trump has discovered that the less he says, the more others reveal. Opponents rush to define him. Allies rush to defend him. Media rushes to speculate. Trump just watches. That silence becomes leverage. Trump was once dismissed as impulsive. That dismissal made him easier to attack. A disciplined Trump is harder. Because discipline removes tells. It removes patterns. It removes predictability. Washington fears chaos. But it fears controlled chaos more. From the outside, it looks quiet. No dramatic announcement. No explosive confrontation. No obvious escalation. That's intentional. Trump understands that the biggest shifts happen before cameras notice. By the time the headline appears, the outcome is already decided. Trump's next move isn't public. It's relational. Who stays close? Who drifts? Who hesitates? Who leaks? Washington is full of people waiting to see what Trump does next. Trump is watching to see who moves without being told. That's how power consolidates. Trump doesn't need everyone. He needs the right few. In the right places. At the right time. Washington runs on coordination. Coordination collapses when loyalty is uncertain. That uncertainty is already spreading. Campaigns chase votes. Trump's next move shapes conditions. Who feels pressure? Who feels exposed? Who feels safe? That's not campaigning. That's restructuring. Institutions act when something happens. They struggle when nothing happens. You can't counter silence. You can't impeach restraint. You can't indict patience. By the time Washington reacts, it may already be responding to a new reality. There will be no explosion. No single moment. No obvious turning point. The shock will arrive quietly. One decision. One alignment. One shift. And suddenly, Washington will realize the ground moved underneath it. Supporters feel confidence. Opponents feel unease. Insiders feel tension. That tension isn't panic yet. It's recognition. Recognition that Trump is no longer playing the same game. Trump has learned the most underrated lesson in politics. The person who moves second often controls the outcome. By waiting, Trump lets others reveal priorities, fears, and weaknesses. Every early reaction is a confession. Washington is reacting. Trump is observing. Silence doesn't unite. It divides. Without direction, alliances strain. Messaging drifts. Confidence erodes. People begin acting independently. That's how centralized systems break. Trump understands this dynamic well. He's not attacking Washington. He's letting it argue with itself. Publicly, Washington looks calm. Privately, conversations are changing. What does this mean? Has he decided? Are we prepared? When insiders start asking questions, they can't answer. Discipline weakens. That's the first sign of instability. Trump is watching something specific. Who aligns early? Who distances quietly? Who leaks information? Who stays silent? Each action reveals position. And once positions are visible, leverage appears. Washington is addicted to certainty. Briefings, schedules, plans. Trump denies its certainty. That denial creates anticipation. And anticipation makes people reckless. Some overcommit. Some hedge. Some defect. All of it benefits Trump. You can tell a strategy is working when the opponent starts changing behavior. Before anything happens, messaging shifts. Talking points soften. Allies reposition. Trump hasn't moved yet, but Washington already has. Washington is designed to resist pressure. What it isn't designed to handle is uncertainty from within, conflicting incentives, competing egos, fear of being wrong. Trump doesn't need to attack the walls. He's loosening the bolts. In politics, being last is dangerous. If Trump moves, those unprepared look disloyal. Those silent look weak. So everyone is trying to move early. That scramble creates chaos. And chaos creates openings. The shock won't be Trump's decision. It will be Washington's reaction to it. When the move finally comes, the system will already be off balance. That's how shock works. Not by force, by timing. This doesn't feel like 2016. It doesn't feel like 2020. It feels quieter, heavier, more calculated. That's what makes it dangerous. Washington is waiting for something obvious. An announcement. A confrontation. A headline moment. That's the mistake. Trump's next move isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It isn't even clearly visible at first. Because it's not about action. It's about positioning. Trump no longer needs to stand at the podium. He's moved behind the scenes. Influencing who speaks, who hesitates, who advances, who backs away. That shift matters. Leaders who step out of the spotlight often gain more power, not less. Here's what's happening instead of an announcement. Conversations are happening privately. Commitments are being delayed. Lines of loyalty are being tested. This isn't chaos. It's sorting. Trump is letting the system organize itself around him. You can stop a rally. You can counter a speech. You can prepare for a vote. You can't block a shift in alignment. By the time Washington identifies the move, the positions are already set. Response becomes reaction. And reaction is always late. Confrontation creates resistance. Subtlety creates dependency. People begin asking, what does Trump want? Where does he stand? Are we safe? Once people seek permission, power has already transferred. Trump doesn't need to demand loyalty. He lets uncertainty extract it. There will be a moment, quiet, unannounced, where Washington realizes the conversation has shifted. Not because Trump declared something, but because the system adjusted before he had to. That's the shock. Trump's earlier style trained opponents to expect impulse. This patience disorients them. They don't know when to respond. They don't know what to counter. They don't know what's coming. That uncertainty creates hesitation. Hesitation creates advantage. Washington still believes Trump needs visibility. That belief is outdated. Visibility was the tool. Influence is the goal. Trump has already graduated. The shock won't be one move. It will be the realization that Trump has already moved. And everyone followed without noticing. This doesn't feel explosive. It feels inevitable. That's what scares Washington. There is no siren. No breaking banner. No emergency session. The shock arrives quietly. A decision delayed. A coalition hesitating. A headline that doesn't land the way it used to. Washington doesn't panic. It pauses. And that pause says everything. Power doesn't always move by force. Sometimes it moves because no one is brave enough to oppose it. Trump's next move didn't require approval. It didn't require legality battles. It didn't require confrontation. It required space. And Washington gave it. The system knows only two responses. Attack. Ignore. Neither works anymore. Attack gives Trump relevance. Ignore gives him room. There is no third option prepared. So the system stalls. Once institutions react, they're already behind. Every response confirms Trump's influence. Every counter move acknowledges his gravity. The system wanted containment. Instead, it created orbit. This moment isn't about one man. It's about a system that no longer controls the narrative. Trump didn't overthrow it. He exposed it. And exposure is permanent. People sense it. Even if they can't explain it. Something feels unfinished, unresolved, unstable. That's because the old rules no longer guarantee outcomes. And once certainty breaks, authority weakens. No matter what happens next, win or lose, return or resistance, America doesn't go back to what it was before Trump. That era is closed. The system has been changed by the pressure applied to it. Trump's next move didn't shock Washington because it was radical. It shocked Washington because it was inevitable. The system created the conditions. Trump simply used them. The question isn't, what will Trump do next? The question is, what does a system do after it loses control once? Because power, once exposed, is never the same.